What's going on, everyone? This is Alan with Double A Sports Podcast, and we had to make a quick video of this big breaking news we got today, especially for us Mets fans. So today, everyone got the notification not long ago, rumblings of a trade being finalized, the first big move in Steve Cohen era. Francisco Lindor is on his way to the New York Mets, and it has become the officials because both teams have posted about it, and it's not just Lindor heading to the Mets. So Lindor has been the talks, and a lot of people connect him to the New York Mets. You know, last year's contract, he's looking at $20+ million a year. Great talent, elite talent, shortstop, guaranteed. He had he missed All-Star game last year because there was no All-Star game last year. So he 4 years in a row, number one in home runs since 2015, average slugging. This is the guy that people want and is willing to pay. Do we have a Mookie Betts scenario on our hands where you trade for him, sign him long term, and he gets you over the hump? But what I think is this steal is Carlos Carrasco. This arm, he is a definitely 3-4 not bullpen, but a starter that Mets needed someone else to solidify that rotation, get some more depth, and this guy is a steal. His salary is nothing because he is additional 2 more years after this next season. Yes, Lindor is only under contract for this season, but I feel like Mets are willing to pay anyone. It's going to be Lindor to stay in New York, that $200+ million deal. It will not surprise me if that deal's got to be done. He's only 27. That's nothing. So it's like, first my thing was like, I got the notification that Lindor was heading to the Mets. I'm like, what did we give up? That was the biggest question. Yes, he was having a down year last year, but still for Lindor, you're thinking they want some top guys. So it was like, preparing myself. Well, Mets didn't give up much. It's a double win for the Mets. So they traded both their shortstops, Med Rosario and Jimenez, our rookie from last year, and then just 2 prospects. I got a pitcher prospect from 2019 draft, and then a infield prospect from this past draft, which we haven't touched on because COVID. But it's unreal. So Wolf is the arm, number 9 prospect with the Mets. He did get to play a little bit golf league the year before after he got drafted because we're here. It was pre-COVID, so he did have a couple starts, and then. So, not bad. And then Green is a high-level outfielder who could become something. He hasn't you can't really do nothing with somebody you drafted. He's probably been working out a good resume from the Mets. Now, his first spring training, whatever that does happen, when it does happen, will be the Cleveland Indians. So, the teardown has completely continued with the Cleveland Indians. With last year when they did some trades, it's like, but they still were competitive. It's like, okay, a lot of things. Lindor was on his way out because, he wants that $20+ million a year, and we knew Cleveland could not afford it. He goes to New York where Steve Cohen has the money, and he is definitely going to pay this guy. Like, who doesn't want Francisco Lindor? So you look at the lineup, the Mets, and then especially the rotation too, So of course you have DeGrom at the top of the rotation. You have Stroman. So you can put, Carlos right there at 3 for now. And then when Noah Syndergaard back, he can stay at 3. Noah goes 4, or Noah goes 3 and goes 4. That's still a solid rotation. Could they add someone still like Trevor Bauer? There's a possibility. Pitching wise, I don't know if Bauer's still in the mix. Maybe we'll see. I think they're still more towards Springer to solidify that outfield. That could be a strong possibility, and then get, Jake, was it Ozzerini as probably the other pitcher that we could fill in that 5-man rotation. And then there's talks of a super bullpen that New York could add with Brad Hand, which, Sandy Olson said that if they became the owners, a couple days prior and he was in the building, they probably would have claimed Brad Hand off of waivers. So there's that rumor going around. Like, you think this guy's get a super bullpen, you don't need your starter to go 5-6 innings. Look what the Dodgers did this past World Series. Their guys, and then they had bullpen games. It's going to be a very interesting. So if I'm the Cleveland Indians fans, yeah, I got robbed. Cleveland Mets fans, we are stoked. Especially when this guy signs on the dotted line that he's going to be there long term. Because that's the only thing that partially phrases since we had traded both Ahmed Rosario and Jimenez away. But to get Lindor, you have to make risky decisions because if you believe, which I think Sandy, Cohen, and Porter believe that we can sign him, why not? And this is nothing what you think a couple years ago what a trade for Francisco Lindor would look like. You would think a top 5 prospect, definitely 100 prospect, the top 100, which neither of these guys are. Jimenez, you can say he's a prospect still, but I'm almost certain he lost his rookie status this past year because, the multiplier because it's only a 60-game season. But still, you have control of Jimenez for 5 more years. Ahmed, I think you got 2 or 3 years. So most likely, Ahmed probably be the everyday shortstop. Jimenez can become their third or their second baseman real quick, possibly, or even short a little bit. And then you got a future outfielder, and then you got a future possible starter. So what do y'all think about this trade? I honestly think Mets stole this trade. So now it's like this offseason has been slow and quiet except for Padres blowing everyone's mind making those 2 massive trades. It's like, what are we doing? Like, who's gonna make that first big splash? Everyone thought New York was gonna make their first free agent signing. We had made another big splash with getting Lindor, but I think it's both players and teams try not to, I don't say screw themselves over, but be smart with their money. Like for George Springer, for example, rumor is it's down to Mets and Blue Jays. He wants 150. Blue Jays apparently reported offer below 150. Mets, there's not been a really true rumor, but if you're a Mets, you want to make sure that Blue Jays are still involved somehow, some way, because you don't want to overpay what they're not willing to pay. I forgot the player's name, but a couple years ago, I remember Dodgers outbidded themselves. They thought other people were bidding on a player, and they overpaid for the player because they thought other people were after him. So I think that's why long term they're hoping maybe someone else gets involved to jack his price up, like George Springer. Or, for example, like I don't know if he's going to wait that long, but we don't know what the uncertainty with this year's league. Does someone get hurt? And it's like, okay, I might need to go get Springer now. I'm willing to pay him. I don't know. It's very interesting. And Bauer, I think it's coming soon. With his agent vlogs and his vlogs, I think they're narrowing down the decision. I think they got probably a handful of team or so like they're really looking at, and now Mets probably become even more like, look at it, they just add Lindor. Like, this is another team I would love to be throwing out. And you think about the guys behind him, especially Lindor, shortstop, defense, and that bat. It's like, what more did you want? So we could possibly see 1 or 2 of the big guys sign this month. We're only in the 7th of January. So this is about time, because you think about it, we're almost a month away from technically pitchers and catchers reporting. Usually it's around Valentine's Day. So we're almost a month away, but we don't know what will happen. People are saying the league might be shortened. I honestly think they need to go to spring training. Of course, no fans are allowed, unfortunately, this year. Because by the end of the year, no teams had outbreaks. No positive tests until the World Series debacle, which will still, I don't know if that was ever confirmed that he really did have COVID. But still, that possibly there. Slowly bring fans back. Hopefully we get more and more people once these vaccines come out and everything's good. Go back to normal baseball life, because I'm ready to watch some baseball, ready to go to our local team here, the Tides, just to see some baseball. TV was cool. It's different last year. I hope NL does have a bargaining chip to start the season to get that DH, because that will dramatically open up lineups for the Mets, for example. Because if you do get Springer, you can put Nimmo in left then, and then you can have, for example, Dominic Smith as a DH, which we saw he did great at, or vice versa, JD Davis and stuff. The possibility there for, and then, Ozuna will open up his opportunity to sign somewhere if there is a DH, because then it's like, I can play you outfield and I can play you DH. So I think that's why, and everyone's reportedly lost, around $100-200 million. But mostly that was probably stadiums and stuff. What we know, Steve Cohen is good, but not because he's the richest owner in baseball is because apparently he made almost $1.5 billion last year in his firm. So it's like, oh, so you almost paid for what you paid for the team last year. So okay, so you're still worth about 13 something billion dollars. But he can't overspend this year. He can't go sign Bauer and Springer with already doing McCants. And now Lindor's on the books for I think almost 20 million, I'm assuming, this year for arbitration, because I think, well, and it might be a little less since he had a down year last year, but we'll see. Arbitration, his final year before to sign a contract, or Mets sign that deal and make it team friendly this year. We'll see. Tell me what you think. What do you think about this trade and so far this slow off season? Is it going to start ramping up soon now that Mets made this trade to start poking at the hot stove? Padres, they had the top prospects to do it, which they didn't give. They give a top prospect for their two pitchers that they acquired. What do you think? Let's go Mets. Check out soon. We'll have our first episode of season 2 of the podcast coming up soon. Breakdown of what this Hall of Fame vote will be this year, and then probably the second episode will be the Hall of Fame vote, who's in, who's out, and thinking about next year's Hall of Fame. We'll catch y'all soon. Peace.